All right, I think we are live. What is up, everybody? Welcome back into another episode of Orioles Weekly. Hope everybody's having a great start to their Monday. Of course, Orioles are off today. They do not play. They just finished a series, a long road series, or a long road streak there, where they had games in Tampa and Toronto and in Cleveland. They had 10 games on the road. And they did, they went 6-4 in that span. They split their series against Cleveland. They lost 2 out of 3 to Toronto, but then they won the series against Tampa Bay. So they went 2-2 in each of the series. So 6-4 overall in that 10-game stretch, which isn't too bad. With two of the series against teams with over 500 records. So overall, wasn't too bad of a series for the Orioles. But good to have all of you here. We got a lot to talk about tonight as we get into this and talk more about the O's and what's going on there. Oh, I got the light in the picture. Let me get that out of there real fast. 1 second. I don't really want the light in the picture, but I do need the light. There we go. That's a little bit better. Anyway, good to have everybody here. Daniel Berry Sports is here, and Genie52573 is here to start us off. Good to have all of you in here. And again, we got lots going on. Let me just update everything here real fast. Lots of news to talk about. I want to go over a few things when it comes to the Orioles because I think we have a few things to talk about in reference to the team because there's been a lot going on lately, and I think it's something we need to discuss. So let me just pull everything up here, and we will get this whole thing rolling. But anyway, again, Daniel Berry here. Genie's in the house. Good to have all of you in here. Of course, the Orioles are off today. They do not play. They are in a virtual tie with the New York Yankees atop the American League East. And this upcoming series is going to be, or this upcoming week is actually going to be a big week for the Orioles. Again, they're off today, and then they start a 2-game series at home against the Nationals, and then a real big 4-game set against Boston. Boston comes to town for 4 games to end the week. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that's actually going to be a really big weekend series for the O's. Boston's, I think, 6 back at this point. If they can get out of this winning 3 out of 4, they could be right in the hunt. And it could put a big damper on the Orioles' chances of winning the division. And Boston's been playing really well lately. Of course, they just had Jarren Duran get suspended for some remarks he made to a fan the other day. So he's going to be out a couple games, but I don't think he's going to miss any of the Orioles series. So that series against Boston is going to be a big one. But I wanted to talk tonight a little bit about some other things going on with the Orioles. And I think it's important that we discuss these things because I think they'll have a pretty big effect on how the Orioles succeed moving forward for the rest of this season and possibly into the playoffs if they make it that far. For those that don't know, last week, I think it was last Sunday, Grayson Rodriguez was getting warmed up for his start against Toronto, and he was long tossing out in the outfield just before the game, and he just didn't feel right. So he went over to the trainer, to the manager, and he said, I just don't feel right. I'm not feeling good. I don't think I should start today. So they scratched him from the start. They did some tests, and they found out that he's got a strained tendon, lat back here. It was the same thing from back in 2022 that kept him out for 3 months. But they did some MRIs, they did some imaging on it. Doesn't seem to be that bad. That's good news. It's not as severe as it was back then, so they don't expect him to miss a lot of time. But Grayson Rodriguez is going on the injured list for the Orioles, and he's now on that injured list. Retro, I think, back to Sunday. That's another big hit to this Orioles team. They've had so many injuries at this point. I think it's part of the reason why the Orioles, in my opinion, don't seem as dominant this year as they did last year. Last year, for the majority of the season, they pretty much had everybody. They really didn't suffer any big-time major injuries to the pitching staff or on the lineup side of the ball. Either way. Matt, Monarch Miracles, welcome in. Good to see you, bud. But this year, they've had to really withstand some significant injuries. Of course, Felix Bautista's been out all season. Then they lost Tyler Wells. Then they lost John Means. Then they lost Kyle Bradish, which was a huge gut punch. And then they lost Jorge Mateo. And then they lost Jordan Westberg, who is an all-star, who was having a phenomenal season. And now, they lost Danny Colomb. They've lost Jacob Webb. And now they've lost Grayson Rodriguez. And all of these guys are important factors, important pieces to this team. And yet, somehow the Orioles keep chugging along and keep finding ways to win games. And to their credit, they are still tied for first in the American League East and are like a half a game out of having the best record in baseball. So, it's been a testament to the depth of this team. And I got to give them credit for it. I mean, they're very frustrating to watch sometimes. Very frustrating to watch. And I get so upset sometimes because there's opportunities to get missed so much. And I'm just like, man, it was right there for the taking, guys. And we don't take it. And, that part's frustrating. Offensively, the Orioles are still very frustrating as well. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit. But anyway, Grayson Rodriguez has gone on the injured list. They're hoping to get him back in September, which means all of August. Remember, this is only August 12th, so he's not going to pitch at all in August. Maybe easier to tell us who they didn't lose. Wow, I didn't realize they lost that many. Yes, Matt, they really have lost a lot this season. And none of those guys, Westberg, they're hoping to get back in September. Danny Colomb, they're hoping to get back in September. Jacob Webb possibly in September, and Grayson Rodriguez in September. So those four guys could possibly come back. All the other guys, Felix Bautista, John Means, Tyler Wells, Kyle Bradish, Jorge Mateo, they're not coming back this year. They're all done. All of them are done. Means, Tommy John surgery. Kyle Bradish, Tommy John surgery. Felix Bautista, Tommy John surgery. But he hasn't been there all year. And Jorge Mateo has a separated elbow, and he's got some ligament damage in there. He's going to be done for the season as well. It was a pretty significant injury to him. Basically, his arm was like this, and it went backwards. It was pretty gruesome. But anyway, so we'll see. If they can get Westberg and Grayson Rodriguez back, and Danny Colomb back, if they get the four back that they think they're going to get back in September, it's going to be a big shot in the arm to the team heading into the stretch run or the possible playoffs. So we'll see. But this Grayson Rodriguez injury, it's big because, when they traded for Zach Eflin, you looked at the rotation and you said Corbin Burns, Grayson Rodriguez, Zach Eflin, Dean Kramer, and whoever else as the fifth guy, probably Sean Rogers. And you're like, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. That's a good five. But now, when you lose Grayson, it's a big hit. It's another really big hit to this team. But to the Orioles' credit, Albert Suarez goes out yesterday and pitches 6 2/3 innings of shutout ball against the Rays, and then the bullpen gives it up, and they lose 2-1. Jeff says, "When will Kimbrel be back?" Sorry, kidding. I guess. I was really kind of hoping he was going to at least be consistent. I didn't expect him to be the Craig Kimbrel of 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago. But he's really been inconsistent, and he's cost the Orioles some ball games, for sure. There's been other times, though, when he's lost and blown the save, and it's really actually not been his fault. You can't just look at the box score and say, "Oh, he blew it." Look at the factors behind what led to that box score. Like yesterday, it says he walked 3 guys. Well, one of them was an intentional walk. So, for what it's worth, there's that. And the run scored on a sac fly. So, I agree. He's not been effective, and he's cost the Orioles some ball games. But, they got an option for next year. They probably won't pick up the option. But it is what it is. They have Sir Anthony Dominguez. in the bullpen now. He's probably going to start taking over the closer role, and he's actually been phenomenal since the Orioles picked him up from the Phillies. That trade actually worked out really well for the Orioles. But Grayson Rodriguez being on the injured list, it's gonna be, that's another gut punch to the Orioles. Matt says a couple years ago the Eagles had to use next man up mentality, and that seems to be what the Orioles are doing. Yeah, it is. Well, it really is, and that's exactly what they say. They talk about next man up, and luckily the Orioles have what I consider to be an embarrassment of riches in the minor league system to be able to do that, at least on the position player side. Not so much on the pitching side, but definitely on the position side. Slyster, welcome in. Good to see you. And Chris, what's up, Chris? Good to see you, bud. You're not late. We literally just started like 10 minutes ago, man. So anyway, Grayson Rodriguez, the hope is middle to end of September, he can get back. And I hope so, because the Orioles are really going to need him. They're really going to need him. Right now, he's been shut down for now. They will re-image the lat in a couple weeks, see where he is, and then if it looks like he's good to go, obviously they'll get him pitching again, warming up, stretching out, and then hopefully he'll make one or two starts before the postseason starts for the Orioles, and he can be slotted right back in for postseason play. So Grayson, hopefully he'll get well soon. The other topic I wanted to touch on, and I'm going to bring up some numbers here to talk about this because I think it's important, is Adley Rutschman. I've noticed that the Orioles have not been playing him much at all lately. He's been sitting a lot more often in games. And I think that's very interesting that that's been happening. He's just not been playing. He'll get one at bat, he'll get two at bats. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. I don't know if it's... How do I word this correctly? So he's been struggling. As you guys know, Adley had a really bad... I did a whole video on these guys, him and Gunnar, and how important they were to the team and the team's success. You guys should go out there and watch that video. It's really good. Adley hit like 152 in July. He was not good at all. But here's my take on Adley Rutschman. He's one of your stars. He's one of your superstars on your team. You can't sit him. I'm sorry. He's not a fringe player. He's your 1-1. He's your 1-1. He's the guy you drafted number 1 overall. He is the face of the franchise. He has to be in the lineup. He's a switch hitter, so it's not like you're going to say to me, well, we're not hitting him against lefties right now because he's not hitting well. No. This is your guy. This is the face of your franchise. This is the guy that got you back on the map. He's got to play all the time. And I don't understand why they're sitting him. And it's not helping because it's not like there's an influx. And I'm, me personally, by the way, let me say real fast. Hi, Donna. Good to see you, dear. Donna, Melissa's going to reply to you about Adam. So look for that. With some luck and pitchers back off injury lists, I think the O's can go deep. I hope so, Slyster. But back to Adley. I'm sorry, he's got to play. Because in my opinion, and we're going to get into both sides of the ball, but I'm going to start with the offensive side. In my opinion, it's a huge drop-off offensively from Adley Rutschman to James McCann. Just look at the numbers. Rutschman is far and away a more superior hitter than James McCann is. McCann's hitting like 217 on the season. Rutschman's hitting like 270. 17 home runs, 65 RBIs. McCann's got like 2 home runs, 10 RBIs. So it's not even close on the offensive side. Just my opinion. Now, if you want to look at the defensive side, people are saying, look, Rutschman isn't throwing people out anymore. He doesn't throw out runners. And my response to that was this. First off, you have to dig deeper. You have to look deeper. 9 times out of 10, a base is stolen off the pitcher. Pitcher can't hold a runner. He's long to the plate. He's not quick to the plate. A lot of times you get stolen bases on Corbin Burns because he takes forever to deliver the ball, or they steal bases off of Craig Kimbrell like they did the other night. That's not on the catcher. Now, there are times when he makes bad throws. He short hops balls. He throws balls away. Absolutely. Okay, I'll give you that. But even if it's 80% of the time, you're being stolen on the pitcher, not the catcher. I think Adley is in his own head. I'm noticing he's talking to himself after not getting on base. It could be Slyster. I don't know what it is, but right now he is struggling. Jeff says, I'm betting he has an undisclosed injury. Only thing that makes sense. That's what I was going to say, Jeff. You beat me to it. The only thing I can think is that maybe he's got a tweak or strain or something like that, and the Orioles are saying, look, let's just take a couple days. Let's rest it. Let's rest you. Let's see if it heals. I don't want to call it an injury, Jeff, but I agree with you. I think he might have something that is bothering him that he might have tweaked, and maybe that's the case here. Because I'm sorry, you just don't sit him this much. He's playing a game, then he's sitting. He's playing a game, then he's sitting. You need him in the lineup. You just do. That's just my opinion. Well, whatever it is, Chris, I don't know what it is. I don't know. Yeah, DH him. I agree. But that's the other problem is the Orioles are now that they've gotten a guy like an Eloy Jimenez who is strictly going to DH, they're not going to put him anywhere else. If you put Adley at DH, then that means Jimenez isn't going to hit. And he actually has been hitting really well since the Orioles have called him, have traded for him. He's actually hitting really well. He's not hitting home runs, but he is getting on base and he's driving men in. Maybe that's part of the reason why the Orioles aren't putting Adley Rutschman in the lineup. Maybe that's why, Chris. They're thinking, look, we don't want to put you behind the plate because we understand you tweak something. But I can't DH you because right now the hot hand or the hot bat is Eloy Jimenez. So they're sitting Rutschman. I don't know what it is, but we'll find out in time, I guess. Slicer says, I'm also noticing that no one's talking about how Mountcastle can't pull the ball and not hitting homers. I'm concerned. We'll get into that. Chris says all the pitchers don't hold all the pitchers don't hold anyone anymore, Burns especially. I agree. So, I'm assuming that Rutschman has to start playing. If he's not injured, then his bat has to be in the lineup. You have to allow him to work through the slump, period. You've got to let him do it. You've got to let him work through the slump. I mean, Ramon Urias is getting more at-bats. Now, I know Urias hit a big home run the other night, and that's all fine and dandy. But, one swallow doesn't make the summer, or whatever that saying is. I just don't understand it. Adley Rutschman's got to play, period, unless he's hurt. Jeff says, Victor, welcome in, Victor. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Wow, there's 18 of you. Be sure to hit that like button. Like to get to 30 likes tonight if we can. That would be amazing. We're already at 16. You guys are awesome. So we'll see what happens with Adley Rutschman. I want to see what they do. He didn't play Sunday. I think he had one pinch hit. Went 0 for 1. Again, you really can't get into a groove when you're just pinch hitting like that. And that's not who he is anyway. Then he has the off day today because they're not playing today. And then tomorrow night when they start the series against the Nationals, I'm sure he has to be in the lineup. If he's not in the lineup tomorrow night, then there's an injury. And I hope not, but if I can't see it, that will be 3 days in a row. And you just can't have that player out of the lineup that much. Maybe change him in the lineup a little bit. Well, they've been doing that, Chris, too. They took him from second. They put him down to fifth, put him down to sixth. I wouldn't put him too much further down. Switch hitting catcher like that with power. And usually he drives the ball. That's the thing I've seen about him as well. Richard, the legend. What's up, Richard? Welcome in, buddy. Arjon's here. I feel like he's trying to uppercut the ball too much. His level swing that he used to have, he's getting under the ball more. It's almost like he's trying to elevate it instead of just getting on top of the ball and just making good contact, which is what Rutschman was doing for the longest time. I think he's gotten into some bad habits that he has to take that step back and reevaluate. And Adley can't get into a groove if they keep sitting him. Exactly. That's exactly right, Chris. That's why I'm saying he has to stay in the lineup. He has to. You're not taking Gunnar out, and Gunnar struggled at times. Cowser was struggling for the longest time. He's a rookie. He finally got out of it. This is Adley Rutschman we're talking about here. This is your heart and soul, your team. This is your face of your franchise. He is. I'm sorry, he still is. He has to play every day, as much as possible. Dan, 820 Chief, welcome in. Mets got spanked by the Mariners, only scored one run in the series. Well, Victor, again, that's going to happen. I mean, those kinds of things happen. It's not, it's part of the whole. To be honest with you, there's no one team this year. It's funny because we talk about it. There's no one team this year that's that juggernaut team. We had the Dodgers for a while that were like, oh my God, they're a juggernaut. Last couple of years, it was the Braves. The Braves won 104 games last year. Everybody was like, oh my God, they're a juggernaut to go into the World Series. Even the Orioles last year won 101. You're like, oh my God, the Orioles are awesome. We don't have that this year. Nobody's really running away with that. They're the best team in baseball. One week it's the Phillies. One week it's the Dodgers. One week it's the O's. One week it's the Yankees. One week it's Cleveland, of all teams. One week it's whoever else. It could be the Braves or the Brewers. There's no one team in baseball that is running away with they are the number one seed in all of baseball. When you do those polls, those top 10s, top 25s, or what power rankings, there's never that one team that just holds the ranking for like 7, 8, 9 weeks in a row. Every other week, it's a different team. Same core 6 or 7, but it's never for too long, for what it's worth. So anyway, we'll see what they do with Adley Rutschman. I'll be interested to see how they play it. I'm really hoping that the O's don't come back with us and say, hey, Rutschman's got a strained oblique or his knee is bothering him and they got to IL him. I don't want to see that. But I have to start scratching my head saying, why isn't this guy playing? So we'll see what happens. Phillies still haven't gotten back to where they were before London. Again, I get it. They've been struggling too. And it's just part of the game this year. No one team is that huge team. That's just, my opinion. But anyway, we'll see what happens. But I think the one thing, before I get on to my next topic for another player I'm going to talk about a little bit, the thing that I've noticed with watching our Orioles, a lot of you in here are big Orioles fans, I am not the casual fan. I really watch the game. I watch every pitch. I look at counts, where a pitch is thrown, what happens when that pitch is thrown in that position. I really try to look at things. When this guy's coming up, did you watch what the last at bat was? Are you learning from the pitcher's mistakes, this, that, and the other? And I think that's part of the problem with the Orioles this year is their inconsistency at bats. They're just inconsistent games. They went into the first 2 games of the Tampa series and they scored like 8 runs and 7 runs, 15 runs, 15 hits. And then they come out yesterday and they go 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. They had 9 hits, they scored 1 run, they left 9 men on base. It's terrible. It was just absolutely terrible. And everybody blames Craig Kimbrell for giving up the run to lose 2-1. But I'm saying to myself, yes, that's a factor in the game. I agree. But you know what? The starting pitcher gave you 6 2/3 shutout ball, and you can only score 1 run. What happened here against a team like Tampa Bay, who's 10 games out? Where's the offense? So the offense to me has been extremely inconsistent. They are streaky. As much as I love Anthony Santander, Anthony seems like he's a home run or nothing. Home run or nothing. I want to see him getting on. It's great that he's hitting the home runs. It's the most home runs he's hit in his career this year. I think he's at 35 now. I think he's got the second most in baseball. Great. He's hitting 240. 245, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So he is. I'm going to bring up his numbers right now and we'll talk about it. I like Santander. Switch hitting, power hitting outfielder. And his defense has been really good this year. Got to give him credit for that. His defense has been spectacular. But that being said, 35 home runs, he's batting 243. 35 home runs, he's got 71 runs scored. 35 home runs, he's got 79 RBIs. He's got 107 hits. So, not bad numbers for sure. You know what? He's got 19 doubles this year. He's got 19 doubles. That's it. That's, last year, when he hit 28 home runs, he had 41 doubles. He's not going to get 41 doubles this year. So he's hitting home runs, and then that's it. And I like Santander. I like him a lot. but he's just not. He's not doing what he did. I mean, like, he's never really been a big average guy. He hit 241, 240, 257, 243, 261. He's a lifetime 247 hitter. And he's in his career. He's never driven in 100 in a season. He drove in 95 last year. Now he might get to 100 this year, but I really wish these guys would learn to have hit a little bit more for average instead of just power. But we'll see. I hope Phillies continue to struggle. They're so arrogant. I don't know if they are or not, are they? I do too watch every play, and I agree they're very inconsistent. There lies the problem. And I think that is the problem, Slyster. I think a lot of that has to do with it because just be consistent. You can't have 2 games where you hit 20 hits, 15 runs, 30 hits, 15 runs, and then you come back the next night and you get 1 run in 9 innings, and you have 9 men on base, and you go 0 for 5 runners in scoring position. You got to be a little bit more consistent. The 2-1 game, you can't lose. They're just better than that. Their offense is too good to be like that. If they lose 7-5, okay, I understand. Our pitching, other than Grayson, Corbin Burns, and Eflin, the last 2 guys are going to be iffy, and our bullpen from time to time can be iffy. I'll give you that. We lose 7-5, that's one thing. When you lose 2-1 with that offense, they've been shut out a lot this year. They've scored 1 run or no runs more often than you think. Go look at the record. They're just a little too inconsistent for me. Donna says, "Yep, consistently inconsistent. That's how they've been playing," and they have. They really have. And that's why, if you notice, since June, the Orioles have not gone on any kind of winning streak. And I think that's part of the reason why that's happened, is because they've been inconsistent. They're not playing consistent baseball. When they do, they'll go on a run. They really will, because they're that good. But I think the most they've won since end of June is like 3 in a row. That's it. 2-3 in a row. That's not going to get it done. That's not going to get it done. They have to be more consistent. As soon as they start being consistent and playing the way they're supposed to play, you'll see a 5-game, 6-game, 7-game win streak where they go 8 out of 10, 9 out of 11, 11 out of 12. But if they keep playing like this, where 1 game they're hot, 1 game they're cold, 1 game they're hot, they're going to continue to lose, win, lose, win, lose, win. And they're never going to get rolling. Bad approach and bad at-bats, I think you need to look at the hitting coaches. I agree, Jeff, and I actually think that could be what happens at the end of the season. That hitting coach might be the guy who loses his job. I tend to agree with that. And again, the approach has to be changed. They have to understand the approach has to change. The Phillies have the exact same problem, all the runs in 1 game and not another. Yeah, it's true. I think they have 2, which may be a problem in and of itself. They have 2 what, Jeff? I'm sorry, I missed it. It's the same script with our offense. We'll go up maybe a run or 2 in the early innings, and then no offense 3 days. I agree. And that is the even bigger problem, Slyster. I agree with you 100%. No add-on runs for the Orioles. The Orioles will get an early lead. They'll get 2 runs in the first 2 innings, or 3 runs in the first 2 innings, and they'll be up 3-0. And then they'll get men on again. They'll get 2nd and 3rd, nobody out, where they could use. Here you go. There's an opportunity for add-on runs right here. Take that 3-0 lead, make it 5-0, and they don't do it. And then the other team, it happened just the other day. Now, the Orioles won the game, but they were up 4-0, and they had 2nd and 3rd, nobody out. Now, 4-0 now, because I even mentioned this to Pete McDevitt. And I was like, here we go. 2nd and 3rd, nobody out. Strikeout, ground out, inning over. Didn't even put the ball in play, except the last guy hits a weak ground ball. First 2 guys came up, strikeout. Just put the ball in play. You never know what's going to happen. They don't do that. And then 4-0, an inning later, it was 4-3, just like that. And then it was 4-4. And we won 7-5, thank goodness. Adam, they need to get back to stealing more bases. Gunnar is 14 and has not attempted to steal since June. Agreed. 100%, Adam. Agreed there, too. Put the pressure on the defense. Put the pressure on the pitcher. Gunnar's not stealing. Cowser's not stealing. Mullins isn't stealing. None of these guys are trying to put pressure on the defense. I agree 100%. They got to get back to the winning baseball that they used to have. Start stealing some bases. Make the attempt. Well, I don't think we have two hitting coaches. I know we have two pitching coaches. I know we have a pitching instructor and a pitching coach. But is that where we have the two hitting coaches? Is it two hitting coaches and one pitching coach? I don't remember now. I'm getting confused. But yeah, it shouldn't be. I don't think there is mixed messaging. That's one thing I don't think the Orioles suffer from. Their organization, from all the way down to instructional league, all the way up to the majors, everybody's on the same page. They all have the same understanding of how they want their players developed. That's the one thing I will give them credit for. When it comes to the development of these players, for the first time in a very long time, the entire organization is on the same page of what they want done. So I don't know if it's mixed messaging there. I think that just maybe the message that they're bringing to them needs to be reevaluated. Now, the pitching's been frustrating to an extent, Donna, but to me, the pitching is our weakness anyway. I always thought that the hitting had to support the pitching. I thought that the hitting had to be what carried us for the majority of the season. Look, when Burns and Grayson are on the mound, okay, then we're going to need, our pitching should win those games, 8 out of 10 times. Or even Zach Eflin, who's been phenomenal since he's come over. The pitching is our weakest spot. I think our offense is our strength. I really do. And our bullpen has been weak too. And it's not just Kimbrel. Okay? So Perez comes in with a 1-0 lead, and 6 pitches later, it's 1-1. So, it's not just Craig Kimbrel out there that's losing leads. So, Cionel Perez has struggled. Cano has struggled. Jacob Webb has struggled. They've had their problems in the bullpen as well. And there's been some lack of communication in the field, too, at times. Yeah, I agree. Yep. Matt, you're right. It's all about the home run in today's game. But that being said, you just need to string together a couple of good hits at the right times. Because it's so hard to string together 4 straight hits. It really is. It's not easy. Single, single, single. It's not easy to do. It's easy to hit. The home run's the easier thing than trying to get 4 straight singles. Because that means 4 people have to come up in a row and have 4 good at-bats. So, it's not easy, but I agree with you. We have to play, just make contact. I've watched these games, and when you watch these other teams that play the Orioles, they are a clinic on just making contact. They're not hitting home runs against us. Nobody is. Nobody's really hitting home runs against the Orioles. The Orioles got to be one of the best teams in baseball, and home runs not allowed. They've got to be one of the lowest. Excuse me. But teams put the bat on the ball. They do. They just put the bat on the ball. They make contact. They get on base. They steal bases. They pressure the defense. And it works. And the Orioles need to look at that and do that. Because they can do it. Also notice that when Gunnar gets on base and he's one of our faster guys, Hyde won't let him steal. I don't know if Hyde won't let him steal. I personally think Gunnar's got the... I think he's got the green light most of the time to go if he feels he can go. I don't know what's going on with the running. How can Kimbrel ever be in a high leverage situation again? Every walk, hit, or error is a triple. Could steal a bag. I could steal a bag. Adam, I agree. You're right. It's going to be very difficult to allow him to come into a high leverage situation moving forward. Because exactly what you said is 100% correct. And it goes back to what I was talking about earlier when I said, you can't blame Rutschman or McCann for these stolen bases. They're stealing them off the pitcher because he takes too long to the plate. He doesn't hold runners well. He doesn't step. I get it. You can't, you've only got 2 disengagements. But these guys go on the first pitch. They know he's going to the plate and he takes forever to get there. It's too late. You can't throw him out. And I agree with you, Adam. I think it's going to be difficult. He gets a man on base, it's a double. They're on second. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with him. Paul Angle, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Laura, welcome in as well. Good to have you here. He may not get into any more high leverage situations. And to be honest with you, if Sir Anthony Dominguez continues to pitch the way he's pitching, that's your new closer for this season. Imagine if they can get Sir Anthony Dominguez straightened out fully. Can you imagine a 1-2 punch of Dominguez and Felix Bautista at the back end of your bullpen? 8th and 9th innings moving forward. Holy macaroni. It's like it's like Mariano Rivera and John Wetland all over again. Remember when the Yankees had Rivera setting up for John Wetland? Remember that in the late 90s? I think it was their first championship in a while. I think it was 96. It was Mariano Rivera was the setup guy. John Wetland was the closer. Imagine if they can get Sir Anthony Dominguez straightened out. He's been great so far. He's really been dominant. But imagine him and Felix Bautista as your 1-2 at the end of the games. Goodness gracious. The Orioles could really have something there. Ain't no shame in being an O's fan. Walter's turning me into an O's fan. Well, for the American League, got to stay with my Phils for number one. Of course, Matt. Absolutely you should. And you should be a fan of the Phillies. The Phillies have played really good baseball. They really have. If you should be. Chris Slemmer, he's in the chat. He's a Phillies fan. He loves the Phillies. I did want to get on to another subject, though. One of my main topics that I wanted to talk about tonight. I want to talk about Kobe Mayo. Of course, as you know, the Orioles called up Mayo finally. They finally called him up to the majors, and he came up. He's been in the lineups. I think he's like 0 for 15. He doesn't have a hit yet. He's like 0 for 15 with 10 strikeouts. And I was thinking to myself, is this something to worry about, or is this just par for the course with a lot of these guys? I'm teetering on this because I still think it's par for the course. Gunnar, Adley, Jackson Holliday, Colton Cowser, they've all struggled when they've come up for that first stint in the major leagues. What worries me about Kobe Mayo is the strikeouts. He's had a couple good at-bats, I think, but ultimately he hasn't. The league has adjusted to him. They've said, lay off the fastballs, nothing in the middle of the plate, off-speed, breaking pitches, and we'll get him out. And they're right. That's how they're getting him out. He has to adjust back. He's got to be able to take those off-speed pitches, and until he does, he's going to continue to struggle. I don't think it's a worry yet. The kid he's the number 3 overall prospect in the Orioles organization. He's number 12 in all of baseball. He's going to be fine. And defensively, again, the guy makes one error, and then all of a sudden everybody's like, oh my God, he needs to go. Relax. It's going to take time. He's going to get better at it, and he has gotten better. He's got a 70 grade arm. His arm is phenomenal. He'll get there with the defense. Got to give the kid time. We had Brooks Robinson, Doug DeCinces, and all these other guys that played great third base over their careers that were phenomenal. So I get it. We're kind of, spoiled by that. I think Kobe Mayo is going to be just fine. And if they get Soto right somehow, we would be playing 6-inning games. Yeah, that's the other thing too. If they can get Soto right, but I don't know if they're going to get that guy right. I don't know how much more of a leash they're going to allow him, Gregory Soto, before they're going to say, we just can't have you doing this. But we'll see. I sometimes think that the O's might be lacking cohesiveness. Their body language is a little off, in my opinion. Well, it is compared to how they've been. Most, like last year, everybody was happy, everybody was joking, everybody was having a good time. And I think Colton Cowser is trying to get that back. I've noticed in the field, he's been really joking with players and laughing and smiling and trying to have conversations with these guys, trying to get them upbeat again. I think that hopefully they'll get back to that. But I do get what you're saying, Slyster. I do get what you're saying. Oh, yeah, thank you. Sir Anthony Dominguez so far, Matt's been very good for us. I don't know if he just needed to change the scenery or if we did something, tweak his delivery and his command. But he, so far, knock on wood, has been pretty much lights out for the Orioles. He's been really good. Kobe Mayo looks like most rookies, a little overwhelmed. I would put him on first base only. Well, I don't think he's going to go there just yet. I think they're going to try him at third for now, because that's really kind of where they need him until Westberg's back. Once Westberg comes back, maybe he goes across the diamond. Maybe he goes to DH. Maybe he goes to the outfield, corner outfield position. Who knows? It's a 40-plus home run potential power bat. He's going to be somewhere in that lineup. He just is. Jason Thibodeau, welcome in, buddy. Good to see you. I think Kobe Mayo is going to be fine. I think what happens is he needs to have, first off, he doesn't have all the pomp and circumstance that Jackson Holiday had when he first came up. Jackson Holiday had, photos and pictures and a mic and a camera in his face every single day. Questions every single day. He's the 1-1 guy. That's why. I think once Kobe Mayo gets his first hit, or his first big hit, not just a single, if he gets his first double or his first home run, everything, he's going to exhale, and he's going to say, okay, I belong here. And I think he'll be fine. I really do. And remember, he hasn't had a home game yet either. So tomorrow night will be his first home game. He got called up 10 days ago. So he was in Cleveland, he was in Tampa, and he was in Toronto. He hasn't had a home game yet that I remember. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he's even had an actual home game yet. So I'm hoping that he's going to have something big for us when he comes back tomorrow night against the Nationals. Sony 4K, welcome in, buddy. Good to see you. How do you feel about Hyde not letting Suarez finish the seventh he was dealing? When I saw Perez coming in, I yelled at the TV. Sure enough, first pitch. I agree, Adam. Sometimes I think these guys overanalyze these analytics. If a guy is dealing, let him deal. Let him deal. It's just that simple. That I don't get at all. I mean, I'm like, if he's dealing and he's pitching, he's got a shutout going right now. I don't understand it. I agree with you 100%. I think what they should have done was they should have left him in. Look, I'm not the biggest fan of Brandon Hyde. I think Brandon Hyde has done a marvelous job to help develop and bring these kids along. But I worry sometimes about when the big situations come, is he going to make the right call or pull the right string when we need it pulled to help us win? Because, there was a couple games ago where we had Colton Cowser had 3 hits or 2 hits, and, he was on a 17-game hitting streak, and it came up, and because it was a left-handed pitcher, they pinch hit for him. It didn't work. They did it with the next guy, too. Another guy, they pinch hit and brought in a righty. It didn't work. I don't agree with that. Sometimes I think you got to say, go with the hot hand. So I get what you're saying, Adam. If he's lights out, he's dealing, at least let him finish the inning. Let him lose the game for himself. Don't let somebody else do it. Or let him win it. So I tend to agree. Thank you, Jeannie. I appreciate you doing that. Good to see you, dear. I don't know. There's a lot of questions that we have with the Orioles that they've got to find a way. All I'm asking for, and I'm telling you, if they do this, you'll see them go on a roll. Be consistent. That's it. That's all I'm asking. You got to be consistent. Be good consistently, and you're going to win a lot of games the rest of the way. If they continue to play inconsistent, then they're going to middle it. They're going to meddle or stay. They're going to stay at 500. And I don't know that 500 is going to be enough the rest of the way. It definitely isn't going to be enough, in my opinion, to win the division. And it may not even be enough to make the playoffs if they don't start going on some sort of roll. And they've got it tough because they've got Boston coming into town. Then they've got the Mets. They've got to face Houston. They've got the Dodgers. All of this month for the rest of this month. So they've got good teams that are coming in or they're going to them. And they're going to have to face them. Now they got the Nationals for the next 2. I think they have the Rockies at the end of the month. There's a couple series they should win. But, Houston, Mets, Boston, Dodgers, they're all coming this month. So they're going to have to get it together quick or we're going to be not happy fans for sure. But I do want to let you guys know, don't forget, Wednesday night, Wednesday game of the week, Orioles Nationals. I'll be calling the game. I'll have a thumbnail out there probably either today or early tomorrow. Hope you guys can join me for that. We're going to call the game. It's going to be a lot of fun. Jeff says, agreed, Hyde is not the guy to get you over the hump. In my opinion, he might prove me wrong, but I don't see it. Yeah, Jeff, I don't know what's going to happen with Brandon Hyde. I think they like him. I think Elias likes him a lot. I really do. I think he likes him. I think they work well together. But there are times when I look at some of his managerial decisions and I'm like, what's going on? Like even lineups. Sometimes I think they change the lineup way too much. I think they change the lineup way too much sometimes. Gunnar, Adley, Cowser, Holiday, Mayo. Those guys need to be in the lineup every day. Every single day. 6 out of 7 days of the week that you're playing. They do. Santander's got to be in the lineup every single day. You got to put these guys. They got to be in the lineup. I'm sorry, they just do. That's why they're there. Ryan Mountcastle. I think part of Mountcastle's issue is Slicer was talking about. I know he's not a big fan of Mountcastle. His numbers have gone down. He needs to get regular at bats, or put him in against lefties, and put him at first base against lefties. But you're not going to face a lot of lefties. You're going to have more right-handed pitchers than you are left-handed pitchers. I think Mountcastle's got to get going. And given a good stretch of games where you're in the game every single day. But we'll see what happens with the Orioles. Why do we only have 2 games a series against the Nats? Oh, they do that sometimes against them. I think that'll change next year. That's a good question, Slicer. I don't know why they do it that way. Laura says, do you understand why Brandon Hyde does not like Corbin Bird's pitch at the end of the 7th inning? Or do not understand why. Again, sometimes it's pitch count. If a guy's in the 7th inning and he's already over 100 pitches or he's about to hit 100 pitches, because that seems to be the magic number, a lot of times they'll come get him. And they'll say, well, we're going to have to rely on the bullpen because we're going to come get him, and that's going to be it. I agree. I don't know why they do that, but I think it's all based on, in my opinion, I think it's all based on analytics. They all say, look, when they get to 100 pitches, that's when they tend to tail off. That's when the batting averages go up. The power numbers go up. Maybe that's what they're looking at. And they say, look, when he gets to 100 pitches, averages go from, team averages of 185 to 255. It jumps 70 points. Who knows? I'm sure they're looking at all of that. Yeah, and Mountcastle probably should play every day. He really should, because defensively he's pretty good over at first base. I don't think they have anybody that's better than him over at first. Ryan O'Hearn's not better than him at first base. Colby Mayo's not going to be better than him over at first base. And you don't want to sacrifice defense all over the field for offense. You've got to have some areas on the field where you're exceptional defensively. They have it in left with Cowser. They have it in center with Mullins. I got to be honest with you. I really think they have it in right field with Santander. I know Gunner's got a lot of errors this year, but I still think he's an exceptional defender. At short, I think they have it at second, where they don't. And I think they have it at first. I think the only place they really don't have it is third base when you've got Mayo over there. But if Arias, and even Arias, I don't think Arias has been that good defensively over there this year. Just in my humble opinion. He's the one guy for me, just like Slicer's not a big fan of Cowser, I'm not a fan of Arias at all. That's a guy that I look at and I say to myself, how does this guy even get starts? How is he in the lineup? And then every time they pinch hit him, he strikes out. Every single time. I don't know. I think there's a place for analytics in the game, Slicer. I think there is a place for analytics. Hey, we got a subscriber. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I think there is a place for it, but I don't think it should be the barometer by which all things are measured and all decisions are made. That's what I don't think. I don't think you take a guy out of the game because the analytics say at 100 pitches he's going to start giving it up. I think you use your gut and you say, look, here's the 7th inning. He's gone 6 2/3 innings and he's dealing. I know what the analytics say, but my gut says he's going to get this guy, and go with your gut. Or look, I know Cowser, we got a lefty in the game, but Cowser's coming up. He's got a 17-game hitting streak. He's got 2 hits today. He's on fire. I'm leaving him in the game. The analytics may say no. I'm saying yes. I'm going with my gut. And I think a lot of times they need to do that. I think if they start to do that, they'll be rewarded for it. It's not gonna work every time, but I think they'll be rewarded for it. I really do. It's just one of those things. Yeah, I meant to say Mountcastle Slicer if I said Cowser. I do think there's a place for analytics in the game. I do. I think it's helped the game. I think it's helped the Orioles. I really do. What I don't think it should be the barometer that you make your decisions on every single at bat, every single game, every single pitch. That's all. Well, everyone, look, the Orioles tomorrow night, Nationals, Orioles. Orioles have done really well against the Nationals for the most part. It's at home in Baltimore. I'm really hoping the Orioles can go out there and win these games. They really need to win both games. They really do. They need to go into this Boston series on a high with a 2-game winning streak with a little bit of momentum. I really can't see them going into this series against Boston and not, losing these 2 games. They can't. They really can't. I'm going to pull it up right now to see who the Orioles got as the pitchers for the 2 games. 1 second here. I'm going to pull it up for you guys. So tomorrow it's going to be Cole Irvin. I'm sorry. It's going to be Irvin for the Nationals and Trevor Rogers. Trevor Rogers is pitching for the Orioles tomorrow night against Justin Irvin, I guess, for the Nationals. And then Wednesday night, it's going to be Dean Kramer versus Hertz. So, not the best of things for the Orioles. You got Dean Kramer and you got Trevor Rogers going. Neither one of them have really been pitching that well. But hopefully they'll take advantage of the Nats and they'll get these 2 wins. But hopefully, they'll have Eflin going, they'll have Burns going. They'll have Suarez going in the series against the Red Sox, which should be good for them. Every series for the last 3 years against the Nats have been 2-game series. Yeah, they have been. 2-2, home and away. I guess because that's kind of their rival. I don't know. Maybe it changes next year. I'll have to look at the schedule, but we'll see. But anyway, guys, 20 of you watching. We got up to like 25. Thank you all for the likes. I appreciate it. I wanted to get to 30. We didn't quite get there, but we did pick up a subscriber. I appreciate that. So that's it for tonight, guys. Hope you enjoyed the show. Lots to talk about on the Orioles. They really need to get on a roll. They really do. This up and down inconsistency is, I think it's going to hurt them in the end. I really do. I really think they've got to find a way to go on a roll. Let's win 7 out of 8, 8 out of 10, 10 out of 12. They need one of those. They really, really do. Because nobody in baseball is pulling away with it. Nobody is saying we're the team to beat this year. You talk about parity. I really think you're getting parity this year. So I'm hoping the Orioles can find a way to string together a nice streak of 7, 8, 9 wins in a row, or at least 9 out of 10, something like that. They need it. They need it bad, and I really think it'll help to boost the confidence. Mods, thank you very much. Great job as usual. Anybody that's watching, if you're a new subscriber, thank you for subscribing. All those who commented, thank you for commenting. If you didn't comment, if you're just watching, if you're a ninja watching, I appreciate you ninja watching. We always talk Orioles here. We try to keep it family friendly so the little kids can watch too if they want to have a good time. But I appreciate all of you all very much. We'll be back Wednesday night with the game of the week, Orioles Nats. Be sure to join us for that. And until then, keep rooting for the O's and take care of yourselves and each other. Bye, everybody. Have a great day. Go O's.